The Cadillac Escalade is the ultimate full-size luxury SUV, right? Well, Lincoln might say otherwise. Now, you might think that the Cadillac Escalade is responsible for kicking off the full-size luxury SUV trend in America, but it was actually Lincoln with the Navigator just 1 year prior to the Escalade's introduction that really started it. Now, this has been a huge hit for Lincoln, not quite as popular as the Cadillac Escalade, but this has been one of the company's most popular models, and it is Lincoln's flagship model. So I found it interesting that Lincoln kind of went in an all-new design and interior direction with the Nautilus, their midsize model, and now we're seeing a lot of that technology trickle here into this all-new 2025 fifth generation Navigator. Now, I did say an all-new generation. Ford and Lincoln have been a little bit loosey-goosey with that term all-new generation. You can see the Mustang is very heavily related to the previous generation Mustang, and as we'll see in this video, this new fifth generation Navigator is similar in a lot of ways to the fourth generation model. The styling has changed quite significantly. We do have this really nice light bar here. You can see when you walk up to it, it does some really cool lighting animations here, and then the grille is actually illuminated as well. I think this is a really nice look, although the previous generation Navigator was pretty handsome as well. We've got kind of this bluish gray color that I really like, and I also really like the jet appearance package. You can see we have this blacked out grille. These little modules are meant to look like little versions of the Lincoln logo, and then we also have black 22-inch wheels. I like the black wheels, although I don't know if I love them with this pairing of the kind of light blue gray exterior. It kind of just would be one or the other in my opinion. Now, 22-inch wheels do come standard on the Navigator, but you can also upgrade to 24-inch wheels if you really just want the craziest wheel option available. I think the 22s look big enough, and it is pretty fine for the ride. I'm sure the 24s do not do any favors for the ride. We also have a Navigator written here in black as part of that jet appearance package. If you're wondering, the jet appearance package adds a little over $3,500, or about $3,500 to the price. We have the regular length Navigator, not the L, so you can actually get a longer version of this car if you want. The longer version is going to add about $3,000 to the price. Now, here at the back, we have some significant changes. We have Lincoln kind of spelled out, hidden in the headlight, which is kind of interesting. We do have a rear wiper, but it is hidden here underneath the brake light as well. And one of the biggest changes here on the Navigator on the outside, as you open it, is going to be the new addition of a split folding tailgate. So the previous Navigator had a piece of glass that you could open. This new one has a split folding tailgate, just like you would get in a Range Rover or a BMW X5, but we'll come back to this a little bit later. Now, as we step on the inside of our Navigator, we've got our power retractable running board that is going to deploy. We have the all black theme. There are other themes available, some of which are only available if you get the black label. The black is fine. I tend to like the lighter colors that Lincoln does, but as we'll see, this is the jet appearance package on the reserve trim. So there's really only two ways aside from the jet appearance package to do this new Navigator, and that is this reserve trim and the top black label trim. But as we'll see, the reserve trim is still pretty nicely loaded. We've got a 24-way adjustable seat here, 22-way over on that side. If you get the black label, that's going to go to 30-way adjustability on the driver's side, 28-way on the passenger side. You basically get a thigh extender, and then the headrest is power adjustable as well. So not a huge difference there, if I'm being honest, between this reserve trim and the black label. We do still have heated and ventilated seats with massaging as well, even on this quote-unquote base trim. Now, as I started up, you're going to see a very, very different infotainment setup than we had in the previous generation Navigator. We now have basically the same setup that we saw first in the Lincoln Nautilus, which is going to include this 48-inch panoramic display. So you have your gauge cluster right here. You have your Google map right here. Although if you do run Apple CarPlay and you run Apple Maps, you will be able to get an Apple map or Waze on this screen, which is a nice addition from the last time I drove the Nautilus. Now, the map is always going to be up there, whether or not you have the base Google map, which is built into the car. This is a Google-based system, or the Apple system. What's over here on this side of the screen is customizable. So down here, we have our touch screen. This is where your CarPlay is going to be displayed. You can also use your base map and things like that. So basically what you can do is you can grab these little widgets, drag them up. So if I want to replace the compass with my tire pressure, I can go ahead and do that very easily. If I want the weather, I can have that over there as well, and then I can slide their position on the screen to have whatever I want. There is also like a calm mode that gets rid of this. If you don't want it, it kind of just blacks it out and makes it a little bit more simple. But I think it's really not too bad. I think it's a pretty nice looking screen. I don't think it's overwhelming. I wish that there were a few more widgets. Lincoln promised me that they can add them over time. But with what they have, I don't think it's overly distracting, and I do think it looks absolutely gorgeous. Now, we do have this very weird steering wheel. I hesitate to even call it a wheel. It's more of a squircle. It's very square. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we get it out on the road, but it has a lot of functionality on it. You can see that these buttons aren't really labeled for the most part, aside from our adaptive cruise control button. And this one, if I click it, is going to allow me to adjust my steering wheel and my mirrors. We don't have any of that adjustment here. So it's very Tesla-like in that. So if I want to adjust the steering wheel, I click that button, and now I can adjust it down. I can adjust it out using these controls, and then I can exit that function. This side also handles my volume and stuff like that. You can see that those controls kind of pop up there. Now, other technology, we have a 28-speaker Revel Ultima sound system that sounds absolutely phenomenal. I would put it right up there with Cadillac's AKG system that you get in the Escalade. I think it's that good. We've got our piano key shifter down here with a nice glass volume knob, which is pretty nice. And then we do have, if you put it into reverse, we have our 360 camera that's going to pop up where the map is. And then we have kind of an additional rear view camera there with trajectory lines. And you can kind of zoom in where you want it to be as you do that. So you can zoom in on the different corners, or you can zoom in on the side like so to see the wheels. I'm going to go ahead and put it in park. And then the other really cool thing that the Navigator does is in the armrest here, if I open up this little area here, these little plastic things, these are actually what Lincoln calls digital scents. You can buy these from the Lincoln dealership. You kind of plug them in, and then it's going to waft air through the car, which is kind of cool. So if I go into digital scent, you can see I have 3 different ones: Mystic Forest, Ozonic Azure, and Violet Cashmere. And you can have them diffuse the air to kind of refresh you. It does really work. It is really cool, if I'm being honest. I do love that. Mercedes did this years ago, but it is cool that you can now get that on a Lincoln. And then the other interesting thing is, very much like a Tesla, you can't adjust these air vents. You actually kind of tell them where to be on the screen, and you can have them point in prefixed directions. Now, oddly, unlike the Lincoln Nautilus, you can't have them oscillate, which is one of my favorite features in the Nautilus. So I'm a little bit disappointed that they didn't put that in. And then the final thing that I just have to show you is the rejuvenate feature. So we've got 3 different modes. This one's called Waterfall Meditation. We've got the Elements, which is kind of like water, and you can see it plays like a sound to relax you. And then we have Aurora Borealis. This looks so cool. You literally get the aurora up here. And you can choose different relaxation cycles. So it'll kind of fold back my seat. It'll give me a massage. It'll waft one of those scents towards me. Now this one has talking. It'll kind of talk you through your breathing and stuff like that. So I'm going to pick one that doesn't have the talking, or at least I don't think so. So let's click Aurora Borealis. I'm going to click continue. It's going to take a second. It's going to fold the steering wheel away. It's going to start reclining me back. And then for 5 minutes or 10, if I click that, Now my screen is fully taken over to relax me. I thought this would be a little bit silly, but in practice, I really felt relaxed after doing this. I could totally imagine that you drop your kids off at a travel soccer game, you are exhausted from the drive, and you just need a minute of time alone to yourself. You turn on the rejuvenation function and you absolutely zonk out. This is a really cool feature. Now, as we hop into the back seat, something interesting about this reserve trim is that it's actually available with 3 different rear seat configurations. So you can get a rear bench back here, you can get regular captain's chairs, or you can get these powered captain's chairs that are $2,000 extra here on the reserve trim. They are standard on the black label trim. Now, this is not completely new. We had a very similar setup on the previous generation Navigator. You can see we have this sliding console here. You can slide it open to reveal some cup holders, some storage. You have an armrest with some more storage in there. We've also got storage down here. You can open that up. It is actually quite deep. And then over here is where you're going to have your cup holders folding out. You also have your AC outlet, and then you can actually control the panoramic roof from here. And then we do have a touch screen where you can control the climate, the air quality, you can control the ambient lighting as well. And then you have the seat functions. You have heated and cooling back here. You have a massage function. You have a chauffeur mode where you can actually kind of move this seat out of the way. These are really nice, comfortable seats. Now, you can get a rear seat entertainment system back here, but you do have to upgrade to the black label. You can't just add it here on the reserve trim. Now, this is really nice functionality. I love the power adjustment as well. You can recline this quite well. We've got quite a lot of legroom back here, 42 inches of it, which I believe is a little bit more than you get in the Cadillac Escalade. The only problem that I see with this system, and we did have massage seats previously on the Navigator, but they were not fully powered as they are here. Now, the problem with that lies when it's time to get into the third row. So I have to click this button, let's see, like so. Now it's going to recline forward using the motors. This is the same problem that we have on the Cadillac Escalade, by the way, is that it does go pretty far, but I find that it's not the biggest opening. I think it is a little bit bigger than it is in the Cadillac Escalade. I don't have to squeeze in quite as much, so that is a little bit of a better opening than the Cadillac Escalade offers. And then I can go ahead and click this. And now, even though I don't have the L, it's funny because unlike the Cadillac Escalade ESV, the Navigator L really just adds space behind the trunk. It doesn't really add any leg room for the third row. But the third row is decently comfortable. As you can see, my legs are not quite touching, and I'm sure this seat can move up a little bit. I do also have power adjustment on here. I can lean these seats back a little bit. I do also have cup holders and USB ports back here. You can also get a heated third row. These are not actually full leather seats. You have to upgrade to the black label trim to get full leather, and you actually get a heated third row as well, but that is not available on the trim that we are driving here. And then to get out, you just click that button and it'll move the seat up and forward out of the way. I did think it was a little bit easier to get in and out of the Navigator previously without having to rely on the electric motor, but it is at least pretty easy, one touch button, and that opening is definitely bigger than it is in the Cadillac Escalade with its executive rear seating, although the Navigator doesn't have the fold-out tray tables that you can now get in the Escalade. Now, once again, we're going to take a look at the trunk space here via the split folding tailgate. You actually get 2 buttons on the inside, one to open up just this top portion, and then another to open up this bottom portion, which is power up and down, so you don't have to kind of manually do that. We've got a decent amount of storage space here behind the third row. We're going to get 21.6 cubic feet of space, 60.8 if you fold down this third row, which we will do in just a moment. It is worth noting that the Navigator is smaller than the Cadillac Escalade. You can get the L, which is going to have 36.1 cubic feet behind the third row and 75 cubic feet behind the second row for about $3,000 extra. But of course, Cadillac does have the ESV model, which is even longer than that. We do have some outlets over here. We have a household outlet, 12-volt outlet, and USB-C ports back here. And then the other really cool thing that we have here are these little fold-out bits. Now, you might be wondering what those are for. They kind of look like grocery hooks, but that is not what they're for. We actually have a couple of them over here as well. And what those are for is going to be this little table that we get right here underneath the floor. So it stores underneath the floor of the third row fairly easily. And then it kind of clips in like so. And now that it's in place, we have a little parcel shelf so you can kind of put stuff on top of it and then have stuff below it. It's a really nice divider, but that is not all it does. If I kick out these little legs like so, now I can unhook it like so, flip it like this, and now I've got a little table perfect for my tailgate. I really love this feature. And then once again, I can put these legs down, and then I kind of just drop this like so. And now I have a backrest for which to sit on and watch my kids' soccer games. How fun is that? Now, if you need to fold the third row, it's super easy to do so. You can do it just on the left or just on the right, or click this button and fold them both at the same time. Now, here's the problem if you're going to opt for the $2,000 power seats there in the second row. It means that you actually cannot fold those flat to get the full 107 cubic feet of space or 121.6 cubic feet of space in the Navigator with those seats folded. So you're gonna have to make a choice. Do you want this to be a really big cargo hauler, or do you want maximum chauffeur driven luxury in the second row? The Cadillac Escalade has the same problem. I'm surprised Lincoln didn't keep that ability to have massage seats here in the second row and also be able to fold them, but these seats are nicer than the previous ones offered in the Navigator. All right, so let's get the 2025 Lincoln Navigator out on the road. Now, the powertrain is actually a carryover for 2025. We still have a one choice only engine option, a 3.5 liter twin turbocharged EcoBoost V6 from Ford. It's pretty powerful with 440 horsepower, 510 pound-feet of torque, going out to standard four-wheel drive through a 10-speed automatic transmission. That is a little bit more power and quite a bit more torque than you get from the Cadillac Escalade and its one choice only 6.2 liter V8 engine, although the Cadillac Escalade does offer a supercharged V model with over 700 horsepower. Lincoln does not have a Navigator with a crazy, Predator engine from the Shelby GT500 available. No launch control on this car, but I do have it in the Excite drive mode, and it does let you brake torque it pretty well. Let's go. Let's see how quick it gets off the line here. Very smooth, no drama. There's 60. I'm going to slow down. And this is one of those cars that is so well insulated with the glass. I actually had to put the 0 to 60 timer up here on the windshield so that I could actually get a GPS signal. That was 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds dead. That was pretty quick for a big brute. So as I mentioned, this is more powerful than the Cadillac Escalade's engine. So even though it's down 2 cylinders, it does have 2 turbochargers. It's a really nice engine. I liked it in the previous generation Navigator, so I really don't have any complaints with it here. Would I like to have seen Ford done some update to the power? Sure, but I don't really think it needed more power. The 10-speed automatic is really smooth as well. The one weird thing is the absence of paddle shifters, because a vehicle like this could potentially be used for towing. If you are going to tow a boat or something behind you, maybe to your summer home, you own a Lincoln Navigator, you have a summer home and a boat on the lake or something like that, you want to tow it. The only way to shift gears is this weird button shifter down here, and I kind of can't imagine people doing that, although you don't necessarily need to shift gears manually to tow either, especially not with this level of torque. The fuel economy is also better than the Cadillac Escalades at 15 mpg in the city, 22 on the highway, 17 combined. It's better on the highway than the Escalade. I believe the Escalade can get slightly better numbers combined and in the city, but it is pretty close. And honestly, what's 1 mpg or 2 when you're already driving a gas guzzler like this? I've been averaging about 16 miles per gallon in this car, so it just depends on how you're driving it. There's no hybrid option available, although I really wouldn't mind seeing one. Ford does have the technology. They have their Power Boost hybrid that's in the F-150. It could very well fit in here, but clearly Lincoln has decided that there's not a market for it, or else they would have put it in. Now, in terms of how the Navigator drives, this is a cushy boat. Even in the Excite mode, it doesn't thrill you with its handling. You've noticed this weird steering wheel while we were doing the interior walk around. I don't think it changes the driving experience that much. I drive a lot of cars, so I'm used to a lot of weird things. I'd love to hear from you in the comments if you've recently bought a new Navigator and the steering wheel bugs you, if you've had to kind of change your driving style. For me, I got used to it right away, and I know people say that about the Cybertruck as well, but the Cybertruck has that weird steering that's not actually connected to the wheels. This has just very normal steering, meaning that you do have to do end over end, rotations of the steering wheel if you're going to do something like turn the car completely around in a parking lot or during a 3-point turn. So it's a little bit weird. You kind of have to get used to how to grab the steering wheel. And I'm not the biggest fan of having to, quote unquote, get used to things that are supposed to be pretty solved science like steering wheels. But as you just saw there, I was pretty easily able to do that without thinking through it. So I just want to hear from you whether or not you think the steering wheel is a problem or it actually is just fine in practice. And then this car doesn't have adaptive air suspension or any kind of crazy, sophisticated suspension, but it is extremely comfortable. It rides really well, even without having mag ride like the Escalade has. I have zero problems with the ride. This is an extremely quiet car. It does have Lincoln and Ford's Blue Cruise hands-free driving technology. I haven't had a lot of time to sample it in this car specifically, but it is quite good. I have spent a lot of time with it in vehicles like the Ford Explorer, although they continuously update it. I don't think it is quite as good as GM's Super Cruise. They just have like an extra year or two on Ford in terms of refinement and adding features, especially now that Super Cruise has added some extra ability to kind of follow your route a little bit better. I think Super Cruise just can't be beat, but the Blue Cruise is a really nice technology if you're taking a big vehicle like this on long family road trips. Often it is really good for that. Now that wraps up our time with the 2025 Lincoln Navigator. This vehicle is very expensive. Lincoln actually got rid of the base trim that was available last year. So the Reserve is where you're going to start off at $99,995. So just under $100,000. This Jet Appearance Package that we've been driving starts at $103,495. Could be worth it if you like kind of that blacked out look with the wheels and all of the accents. Now the Black Label is just under $117,000. I personally don't think it's worth it for a little bit extra adjustment in the front, the standard seats that you can just add on the Reserve package in the second row and a heated third row. I just don't think it's worth it, and a rear seat entertainment system. There just aren't that many things that you're getting on that Black Label model. You also get a little bit nicer leather and seats and stuff like that, but I think this regular standard Navigator is just fine. It is so super luxurious. Now, how does it stack up to the Cadillac Escalade? Well, the Escalade has a V8 that I love very much, but it has been having a lot of issues with that 6.2 liter engine, so you might want to consider something else like this Lincoln Navigator. It's not the biggest thing in its class. Both the Jeep Grand Wagoneer and the aforementioned Escalade are bigger, so if that is your number one priority, you might not want to consider the Navigator, but I love what they did with the tech. I love the styling. I love how this vehicle drives, and it's definitely an option that I would consider strongly if I were looking for a big luxury full-size full-size SUV like this one. But let me know in the comments, would you choose the Lincoln Navigator over its main competitors, the Cadillac Escalade and the Jeep Grand Wagoneer? I want to hear from you, and as always, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to be alerted of our latest videos. And I'll see you next time.